Morning, peoples. How are we all? We there? Dan?
Good day.
Hello, buddy. How are you, mate?
Good, how are you?
Very good, mate. Who else we got there? Hello, Mr. Stokes. You well, sir?
Morning.
You well, sir? Hello, Johnny Slater.
Hello, David Day. How are you?
Good morning, Zell.
Hey, David, how are you?
Very well.
Oh, now he wants to join in.
This is the delay. That's the delay. Hello, Adam.
Hey, DJ.
Morning. Zell's there. Plusy's there. Rosie's coming on.
We're
Good morning.
on the computer. I'll be back in a sec.
Good morning, Tash.
Too much porn.
I can hear you, Adam.
I know.
Morning, Brendan.
Good to see you, Stokesy.
Thanks, mate. Good to see you too, mate. Oh, it's great to see you, David. Oh, mate, you're a good fella.
Stop going to the gym.
Yeah,
Stokesy.
mate, it's great. All right.
Harry's on. Hey, Bo, how are you, sir?
Morning.
How are you,
Good
buddy?
morning. Hey, morning. How are you?
Very well,
Good, Adrian.
mate.
How are you, champion?
Hey, legends. How you doing?
I'm in bloody lockdown, mate. It's driving me fucking nuts. I was up-
Whereabouts?
I'm in
are you?
Port, but I was up in Byron, so
I'll say stuck there.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm back in Port, but I'm
Okay.
if I was in Byron, I'd be at least be allowed to go to those offices. But because I was up in Byron in Port, I can't go to the offices. So yesterday I parked the car out the front of the office for 2 hours and just did work. I love it, Bowie. I fucking love
That's
it.
crazy. That's crazy, man. You got to have a useful belief around all this stuff, man.
Oh,
You
mate,
know? Otherwise, yeah.
you
The old
do.
Chris Helder philosophy, mate.
We do love it.
Positive thinking doesn't work. Useful beliefs do. You know.
I love it. We love it. I'm just seeing who's on. Clivey and just Jeff. Hello, Al. Danny Slater, Johnny Slater, Tashi. Hey, hey, Bo, I'm just going to ransack you for a minute. I just something because there's a lot of these out there at the moment. I just got off the phone to Ollie too, Ollie Lavers, and just talking about the people out there at the moment and just some of the type of buyers that we're dealing with at the moment. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes, hey, Bo, and then hand it over to you. So, Brendan.
Hey, mate.
Cool. So probably not quite an ARIC speech, but I think it's quite relevant. Dealing with dickheads. So Adam was frustrated yesterday just dealing with some moron buyers. And I told him to be moron proof, but two, just around, you had a very difficult vendor, yeah?
Sure. Are you talking about Saturday? Yep.
Yeah, Saturday. You had a very difficult vendor. And at the end of the day, the guy was a moron or a dickhead or what you ever want to call him. And part of that, I said to Brendan, is the guy's always going to be a dickhead and he's always going to be a moron. What happens in our ego is our ego comes in and we want to try and change that person. We either want to try and change their belief. We want to change them not being a dickhead or prove that we're smarter than them. Brendan, what was my advice leading up to the auction? And talk about what the property was worth and what the guy set the reserve at. Yes?
Yeah, well, mate, I rang you, I think, Thursday panicking because I didn't have a reserve back. Mate, I had nothing from him, had no clue what the reserve was going to be. There was no sort of, he wasn't listening to feedback. It was just one of those things. So in the end, he said, look, mate, nothing. Yeah.
And generally, I'd give you advice to give real hard feedback, give facts, push them, and really actually speak to them and try and educate them, yeah? That would be my normal feedback. But because this
100%.
guy was a moron and a dickhead, what did I tell you to do?
Just leave him alone. There's nothing you can do. He's going to be,
So here's what he's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Exactly. So I was guiding mid to high nines all through the campaign. Woke up Saturday morning with a reserve in my inbox at 125.
Yeah.
So I was just like, yeah, it's not going to sell.
Cool.
But
And when I did the auctioneer chat, generally I go pretty hard on the vendor, don't I? Generally, I give them a bit of a chat. What are you going to do if we don't reach this? I try and put them back in the box. I try and give them a bit of stress. What did I do to that guy?
Nothing. You just said,
how good is it? 5 buys. This is exciting. This is great. This is fucking awesome. So I think at the moment, especially with lockdown and even speaking to Ollie just then in Sydney, we're getting a lot of people that are probably a little bit difficult to deal with. We're dealing with a little bit of people under stress. So that moron, that dickhead feature will trap. Now, once you really feel that, guys, your ego wants to battle that person. You know, don't use the tennis ball scenario. Put the tennis ball back in the other client's face. You know what I mean? Just give facts back. You know, if they're asking stupid buyer questions, just answer them. Like Adam had one, you know, what's about the intercom? Well, just write back. Well, I'm not an intercom expert, mate. Maybe you need to get an electrician to come and have a look. Just don't get it. Once you start arguing with a moron, you're a bigger moron than them. There's me Eric speech, Bo. Thanks very much for listening.
No,
Solid,
it's good on you, Brendo. What did it sell for, Brendo?
$1,089,000.
Yeah.
Oh, how good's
Look,
that?
He's playing games.
Yeah. Look, I mean, that's just a metaphor, guys, for, I mean, whether they're a dickhead or not, or whatever, it's just a really good metaphor for, and I call it kill them with kindness. So the crazier or the more difficult they are to deal with, you just like, we're here to support you, or whatever we can do to focus on our process in order to get the best price. That's what we're going to do. And if 1.2 is there, we'll get it for you. If it's not, then you've got a decision to make, you know? So yeah, like Dave's spot on, and obviously the work you guys do with Jowett, you do know that ego comes in many forms. It's not just chest beating and thinking you're better than anyone else. Ego is actually having that cantankerous, argumentative type approach with someone when they're acting like that with you. That's very much a part of ego. So Dave's spot on, and obviously Jowett's helped you guys a lot with that as well. So I think that's really critical to understand and also just acknowledge it. But
remember when we sold Matty Williams duplex? Remember that, Abo?
Oh,
Matty
yeah.
Remember Matty Williams?
That was.
I think I got the signed contract picking up. We used to have your jammies on.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, old times. Old times.
Yeah,
all right. So,
best.
Mr. Bo, the question was, you've had a really good career in Sydney. You've had enough. You've sold 4 clues. You're moving up to Port. What do you do, buddy? Let's talk it through. What do you do?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a really good question in the sense that, well, how does this relate to you guys? Well, it relates to you guys in the capacity that what's new business energy look like? What I mean by that is we've all seen people change markets, change price ranges, change areas, change brands even, and remarkably you start to see this new business energy, you know. So there's no reason that we can't adopt as incumbent agents in an existing market new business energy, and I assume that's why Dave's asked me the question, to try and deliver that message. So number one for me would be, I would make sure, and this might seem really rudimentary and obvious, but I would 100% make sure that I'm centered mentally, I'm on purpose, and that I'm laser beam focused. So when I say on purpose, it means this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly what I want to be doing. And this is 100% on purpose for me. And I've burnt the boats. What I mean by burning the boats is I don't have this romantic love affair with Sydney or my previous market or my previous brand. There's no plan B. This is where I need to be right now. And I would work it in sort of 12-month vignettes, if you like. So it's crazy thinking, oh, I'll be doing this for the next 20 years. Like, that's just overwhelming. I just do sort of 1 year at a time. So I think that'd be my first thing, right? The second thing is I would absolutely immerse myself in buyer work. Okay, so what do I mean by that is you've got businesses like, say, Bresic Whitney, when they first opened the doors, they had no listings, no market share, nothing. They were just a couple of ex-McGrath guys who opened. what was their main modus operandi, their main focus, and what was one thing that was low hanging fruit, and what was one thing that they could control was buyer work. Because let's face it, if we want to click our fingers and find 3 or 4 listings in 48 hours, that's a bit challenging. But if we want to click our fingers and find 4 or 5 hot buyers in 48 hours, we know we could probably do it, right? So effectively what I would do is appoint myself as their buyer's agent with 0 expectation of remuneration. What I mean by that is, ideally, I get to sell them something. I get that, whether it's through one of my colleagues, being you guys, you know, so I'd hassle you guys to try and get buyers in the door. How would I find the buyers? I would say, guys, what's your orphan data look like? Have you got old open house lists that you're not servicing? In fact, I don't even want it. I'm happy to give you 90% commission. I'm happy just to take 10% just to service them. You don't have to do anything. It's just another form of passive income for you guys. And then I would try and plug those buyers into either your listings, competitors' listings, and even if I couldn't get a conjunction, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me, because what would happen is I would be in momentum from day one. What I mean by that is, from day one, I would actually be out showing real estate to buyers. And you know what? If I didn't get paid for it, that's fine. And you know, frankly, this is not dissimilar to what I did during my whole career. I never deluded myself that I could service 300 buyers. Never. Sure, what I used to do is put people in the buyer alert system who came through open houses. But what I would do would be, you know, basically equip myself to service about 12 buyers really, really well, rather than 300 buyers terribly. And those 12 buyers, I would act as their conduit. I'd bid at auctions for them. I'd show them through competitors' listings. And even till this day, Harrison on my teams gets calls saying, oh, I bought my property through Adrian 6 years ago. He looks it up on RP data, and they didn't. It was actually through someone else, but I was the conduit. So they actually remember me as the one that they actually bought it off, right? And if I moved to Port, I know I could control finding buyers. I know I could control being in momentum. All that's going to do is boost my confidence, boost my product knowledge. Yeah. So I think that would be the next thing I would do. The other thing which I would also do would be absolutely obsessed about data. 100% obsessed about data. I would pick my market. Obviously, you know, with Dave, I don't know if there's little pockets that you can focus on or whatever, but I would obviously
we're patch based.
Patch. Yeah. So I would get a patch. I would get my patch, and I would just say, right, I'm obsessed with this patch, and my objective here is to have every single person in that patch on my database. How would I do that? Door knock, cold call. I would also do Facebook direct geo-targeting links to that area, and just highly target that focus market. And I would make sure that I gave myself a 2-year plan to have every single one of those people on my database. So I would cross-reference RP data with no phone numbers, and if it didn't have phone numbers, I would door knock them. So it would be very strategic. I'd have a map laminated on the back of my desk, and I would literally go street by street. And again, I would reduce my expectations about remuneration. I would just treat that as a project to have every single person in that patch on my database, whatever it took, whether it was through letterbox drops, cold calls, door knocking, Facebook ads, whatever it took, I would actually make it happen. And that would be a massive, massive focus point for me. Okay. The other thing is, the next thing I would do is, if I was given that farm area, I would actually niche myself and market myself, and immerse myself in that market, because I've got a theory that you either become niche, or someone will make you niched in an area that really isn't your niche, if that makes sense. So you create the narrative, you create the niche, otherwise you'll be niched, if that makes sense. So you know, really, what does that look like? whatever you decide to invest in personal marketing, and that's a really good nexus into the next thing, is I would create a personal marketing budget on my projected GCI. So I'd be very strategic about this. I wouldn't think about what I did in Sydney or what I did with my previous brand. I would say, okay, over the next 12 months, my projected GCI or my goal GCI is 800,000, let's call it, right? And for the first year, I would create a marketing budget of 10% of that, which is 80 grand a year. And that might sound like a lot, but when you divide it by 12, it's only $6,500 a year. And then year 2 onwards, I would half that to 5%.
Mr. Bo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, with the business puts a bit in marketing, we've probably got a culture where we don't. Some of them do, but probably 80% aren't really reinvesting back. I mean, that obviously we see that in Sydney a lot. I mean, can we just expand on a business within a business and the reason why that is so important, and if we want to become an attraction agent, and then the power of the attraction agent?
Absolutely. Well, look, my best practice standard is 5% of your projected GCI, but for the first year it would be 10%. Now, the reason you do that is, as Dave said, basically, Elders Lifestyle is a platform. That's all it is. It's a platform. You are the business. You're creating a multi-million-dollar business just using a platform. But Brendan Steed is the brand. David Gray is the brand. We're all brands, but the platform is a very good platform that we're utilizing. So, like any business, do they have a marketing budget? 100%. Do they have a P&L? 100%. So you're no different. So the business within a business, as cliche as that might sound, it's 100% true in our industry, and it's only going more and more in that direction, to be honest with you. So the platform that you're utilizing, Elders Lifestyle, outstanding platform. But basically, you need to become a brand within a brand. Now, how would you do that? So if I had, let's say my projected GCI was 400 grand, that means I got a 5% budget of 20 grand a year. You divide that by 12, and it doesn't come out of that much of only close to $2 grand a month or $1,600 a month. So what would you do? Number one, every single property that you list, and I'll probably say this in order of importance, in fact, every single property you list, if the vendor doesn't pay for a professional video that you're presenting in, then you should pay for it. 100%. Because what you got to understand is these professional videos are perpetual. So they have an indefinite lifespan digitally. They never come off the internet. Your grandkids will be able to see them, basically, right? So you can't buy that sort of marketing. You just cannot pay for you standing in a property, presenting it. It's incredible, the type, and sure, you're going to do the property service, you're going to do the vendor a service, and of course try and get the vendor to pay for it, because I think it's a fantastic investment. But if they don't pay for it, you should pay for it. That would be the first thing that I would do. And just so there's no excuses, in that triage system, if you like, of vendor paid professional, agent paid professional, number 2, third, so there's no excuses, professional iPhone video of walking through the property and presenting it, as long as it's on brand, and you're only talking about a 45 to 90 second video. You've just got to understand that not only is it perpetually digitally online, but when you go to actually boost that through socials, you can actually do it through your business Facebook page and link it to Instagram. You'll see what the algorithm does. It predicts the daily estimate numbers. And if you want to try it, do a static photo or a social tile versus a professional video or an iPhone video, and you will see the predicted daily numbers be 4 to 5 times higher. So the algorithm has already told us that they're not that interested in static content. They're interested in distributing and disseminating video content. So don't, like Dave talked about the dickhead, the guy's always going to be a dickhead or whatever. Facebook have made that decision. Don't fight Facebook, right? They've made a decision that the algorithm devours video. So let's not try and fit a square peg in a round hole and just tick a box and put a photo on there, boost it, or a social tile and boost it and think that it's going to be highly viewed, because it's just a vanity metric. The likes and the comments you get are just vanity metrics. They're not actually getting any cut through, right? So in terms of where I would spend my money, video it would be the first thing. The next thing, as long as, you know, as a business we embrace it, would be DL cards. They're not dead. DL cards are nowhere near dead. Do they work in isolation? Probably not. But do they work in combination with you making 50 calls a day, plus doing socials, plus doing, you know, providing really good customer service, etc.? Yes, I think they do. And I would do that with every single just listed, just sold. The next thing I would do is if you're using Rate My Agent, I would boost those Rate My. They're very, very good because their back-end algorithm is actually very, very good because they use Google as well as Facebook and Instagram. So you can actually boost those posts. And, you know, I often, you know, spend anywhere between, you know, $500 to sort of $1,000 a month, but depending on your budget, you can spend less. But just to do one Rate My Agent per month, really, really powerful stuff, right? The next thing I would do is REA have got a product called Audience Maximizer. I don't know if you guys are using that, but basically for every single listing, you can utilize Audience Maximizer, ideally vendor paid, if not agent paid. Basically what it does.
Yeah, we've got that one. We've got that one on board.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So for every listing, yep.
Mate, yeah, it should be. Yep.
Should be. Well, I'd check that because again, I'd probably use that triage system, Dave, where if the vendor's not paying, that would be a fantastic investment for the agent, because what you've got to remember is even though you're actually promoting the property, you're promoting yourself massively as well, because that algorithm is actually a very good algorithm that REA have actually come up with, and it disseminates highly through. So basically with Audience Maximizer, you're guaranteed a minimum of 30,000 digital and social impressions, up to 50,000. So you think about that. That's huge, right? Where you're actually appearing on it. The next thing I would look at doing in terms of personal promotion would definitely be immersing yourself in, and this makes part of also as what I would do if I moved to Port. I would just select one really good local sponsorship cause, but not just something that you just, you know, put your name on a football jersey and don't go to the games. You know, I'm talking about pick something that you're passionate about that you can actually involve yourself in. So, you know, if it is, say, I just use the football jersey as a metaphor, but if it is that, then you need to be at the sausage sizzle actually, you know, cooking the snags, you know what I mean? So it's very different to what we're talking about, you know, in terms of just ticking a box and not worrying about it. So that's really, really critical, right? To do that. So that's that. So that would be the main things I would do in terms of personal marketing, Dave. You know, that would be the top things.
So, mate, I mean, one of the biggest things I've always admired you is the discipline. So I think even most of the guys, as we always say, it's never going to be rocket science. But, mate, you did it over and over and over and over. How do I get it through the team that they need to invest? And then, two, this just needs to be constant. I mean, when you're working with people, how do you flick that switch to go from, you know, salesperson mentality where we're, you know, high eyes generally, we do it, it feels good, we don't get back what we want straight away, and then we just give up. You know, how do we build that consistency?
Well, I think we've just got to accept and acknowledge that you can't sell a secret, and you know, we're not secret agents, we're real estate agents, right? So as cliche as that sounds, you know, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, and no one's going to know you unless you promote yourself. Like you think about it, we talk about the business within a business. I mean, what business would open, whether it's retail, IT, without marketing themselves? It just sounds insane, right? But as agents, we just think that we that one part of promoting is just calling your database or building data. That's just one of like 25 things you've got to do, you know? So, you know, it's really important, really important that you've got to have that mindset and that discipline that you really don't have a choice. Like it's like being on digital or socials at the moment. It's no longer optional. Marketing is no longer optional. Like you're either in it or you're either on the bus or you're not. So the discipline side of it, it's the same as prospecting or the same as anything else. Like, you know, you've got to just have that projection around 12 months, 5% of my GCI divided by 12. And sure, you don't want to get carried away at an overspend, but you know, you don't want to be anemic in that area as well, because it's just not going to work, you know? So
like
yeah,
the 1,000-page full page ad in one of the local papers is probably not it. We need to be smart about it. We need to geotech it. We need to use digital, which is going to have a much better spend. Would you agree on that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So I think all the digital stuff, and plus some DLs. I mean, another thing which could work really well is direct mail through RP Data. So you can actually mail merge through RP Data direct. And that's something that I do in my team, and then I coach a few people around, and that works really, really well. I'm happy to email you, Dave, the step-by-step process to do that merge. Thanks, because mate. It's actually much better than, I mean, we still do DLs, but this direct mail merge, it actually links through RP Data, and that way, as absentee vendors, and I assume you guys have got a few absentee vendors, right? Yep. It's actually a personalised letter saying, "Dear Dave Gray," you know, and you might live in Coogee, but the property's in Port Macquarie. It's gold. You know, I do about 500 of those a week and get two appraisals. So that would be another very good investment. And that you're talking about $1 per letter with postage and all that sort of stuff. So, but there's a step-by-step process. So I'll email it to you after this, and you can distribute it to the team. Okay. I'll also give you an example, Dave, of the letter that I use, which is, you know, sort of old McGrath terminology, which is the price drive, but it actually still works. It actually is, it's not like I'm in your street, and it's not that. It's more like providing we're doing a price drive, and you know, it's important people know the value of their home, all that sort of stuff, right? So I'll shoot that through to you after this, which I think is also another area of personal marketing that I would focus on. Okay.
And that business within a business, I mean, it's a very simple concept to get, but I don't know if I don't actually know if the whole team actually get that. I mean, if you were to sit down with them and do a quick 5-minute session to actually get the team to understand, because I mean, you've just done a brand change, and it's not and a lot of business owners are nervous to build profile agents up because they're worried they'll leave them. I mean, I back myself that we're going to treat them well enough. You know, the old Richard Branson, you know, train them up well enough that everyone wants them, but treat them well enough that they never want to leave. So how do you get the team to understand that, like, you really are a business within your business? You don't even have to pay, like, if you go and buy a cafe to make 250 grand a year, you probably got to pay $500,000 for it. These guys get to do this, and you're just telling them really to invest 20 grand a year, and they'll probably do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you had a couple of minutes with them to get them to understand that because it's a massive mental shift. And I think what I got out of you today is I'm actually going to do, we do business planning on real estate, but I'm actually going to do a bit more in depth around, branding, a P&L, and actually really coach the guys a little bit more on, the business side of things, so they actually understand that bit. But
that's a great idea.
But a few words from Abo.
Yeah. So look, I think it starts with a paradigm shift in your own mind that, look, you've chosen real estate. You haven't chosen IT, or you haven't chosen retail. You've chosen real estate. And let me tell you, whether you like it or not, you are a brand and a business. Like that's the way the industry has already arrived, and it's the way the industry's headed. You're not an employee, you're a business owner. You have to accept that. Again, Elders Lifestyle is a platform. That's all it is. It's you are the business. And frankly, you're capable of being a multi-million-dollar business. And there's many agents that it doesn't have to be Sydney. It's not geographically discriminate. It can be anywhere where people have built a massive brand and a massive business within a brand. So it really starts, number one, with a paradigm shift, knowing that you're not an employer, you're a business. Then two, it comes down to what Dave's talking about, which is understanding P&Ls, understanding what a marketing budget looks like. But in saying that, you don't even have to overcomplicate that. You just have to know what your goal or projected GCI is, divide that by, times that by 5%, then divide that by 12. There's your marketing budget, right? It's very, very simple. And then trust the process. Just trust the process that marketing works. And the best part about it is, it's all, most of the marketing is going to be about you. Some of it's going to be about the property. Some of it's going to be about Elders' lifestyle, but the majority of it's going to be about you. So it absolutely makes 100% sense, So that would be probably my 5 minutes, is just really making sure you have that paradigm shift in your own mind first,
Beautiful.
So what else would I do? I would, data obsessed. I was talking about that. Niche or be niched, we talked about that. Personal marketing, we talked about that. Then what I would do is absolutely drive all of you crazy to actually attend some of your open houses, or if you got listings, even off market stuff or whatever that is not being opened, that could be opened, even if they're overpriced, I wouldn't care. I'd just say, look, I'm happy to, I don't want any commission, or you can take 90% commission. I just want to put a time on there, and I just want to stand out in the front and just meet people, So I would definitely just put myself in front of as many open houses as possible, whether it's one of you guys or whether you guys could refer something onto me or whatever it might be, but just to get my face out there. So as you can hear, what I'm hoping to do is to get in instant momentum, buyer work in front of open houses. I don't want to just think, okay, well, this is going to take me 3 to 6 months just to be on the phones for that period of time. Being on the phone is one thing, but being out and about meeting people is another. So I think we need to do both, right?
So I'm hearing more than that. At the end of the day, mate, you want to offer service and value. So
yes,
you're basically saying that, I'm Adrian, I'm now in Port, and I'm at your service, and I'm going to offer value, and I'm here to work with you, and you're not a commission check. Would that be right? Is that
correct?
100%.
100%. For the first year, I wouldn't even be focused on commission at all. I would just be focused on adding huge value to buyers, getting my profile out as much as possible, promoting myself as much as possible, and I wouldn't even be focused on commission. Like it'd be something that I have to think about, of course, but if as you've learned from Jowett, if you're outcome focused, the process gets cannibalized. So I'd be very, very process driven.
Beautiful.
So, yeah,
mate,
very process driven.
I think you've nailed it. I mean, the old school, go and meet the lawyers, the builders, all that sort of stuff. I think we all know that. But I think the biggest thing I wanted to get today from that is, that we need to be of service and value. We need to be out there. We need to see ourselves as a business. We need to invest back in ourselves, and that'll make the difference. Next week, next month when you're back on, mate, accountability is a huge thing. I mean, your discipline was second to none. We've got Tony that's helping us with a sales mentor role now, which we're bringing accountability. But, I know a lot of the Sydney agents also go next level. They've got coaches. It's not an easy game. So accountability is really important, to keep ourselves on track. So if we could talk about accountability next month, and also, mate, I know that at different times you got a little bit burnt out. So we want to go hard, but we also want to look after ourselves. So if we could, about accountability, and then I know that's an oxymoron in a way, but then also the balance around that accountability. So,
so important. And look, you're right, Dave. I've burned out, twice in my career to a point of incapacitation. And let me tell you, it's not necessary. You only need to dial back the pace by 5% to actually avoid that, not by 50%, right? So creating a sustainable life and a sustainable business and sustainable relationships is far more important than achieving your goal 3 months earlier than expected. It's just unnecessary. So I've paid the stupidity tax. You don't need to, so I'll pass on my hacks around that as well.
The Simon Sinek, mate. It's the infinite game, not the finite game. Yeah.
Totally,
Beautiful.
totally.
Mate,
Yep.
love your work. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. And we'll see you next month, Mr. Bo.
Can't wait. Can't
Have
wait.
a good
Okay,
day, guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Happy
Thank you.
happy to say, Dave, if anyone needs anything, just reach out, give me a call. Yeah.
I think someone's got something to say now. Yeah, thanks, mate. Has someone got something to say? Is that someone? Someone just jump on? Nope.
No.
Nah, lost them.
Okay.
All right, mate. That was bloody awesome. Thank you.
Absolute
And,
pleasure.
I'm just about to jump onto the thesaurus to understand some of the words you said. But anyway, we'll get there.
Okay.
All right, bye.
See you guys. See you,
Bye,
Brenda. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.